You know what it means? It means we're friends. And you've heard me say it means we're family. We're family. So, yeah, it is. You cannot hear me? Now you can hear me? Welcome, VJ. Can you hear me back there, VJ? Okay, so we're going to start this evening. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for coming to the Ventura County Interfaith Community Forum on All Dogs Go to Heaven. I automatically believe that all dogs go to heaven, but that's, yeah. So we have a little business before we start the talk. So part of what we do as Ventura County Interfaith Community now is we do a couple of acknowledgments. And the first one I want to acknowledge is who we are as VCIC. And the mission of the Ventura County Interfaith Community, established in 2005, is to create a safe and nurturing space where individuals from diverse faiths and backgrounds can come together to learn, share, and grow while warmly embracing all community members. So that is why we're here, and we want to keep it safe that way. One of the things that I have learned, and I continue to try to remember to do, is to acknowledge where we are. This land did not belong to us first. It belonged to other people before we came here. So we want to acknowledge that the land on which we gather this evening is the ancestral home of the Chumash people. For thousands of years, the Chumash have cared for this land, fostering deep connections to its mountains, coastline, and natural resources. We honor their enduring presence, resilience, and contributions to this region. As we meet here, we recognize the importance of respecting Indigenous sovereignty and supporting efforts towards justice and reconciliation. May this acknowledgement serve as a reminder of our shared responsibility to learn from and uplift Indigenous voices in our communities. So, saying that, as we proceed forward, I want to remind us that Ventura County Interfaith Community is here so that we can know each other and learn from each other, learn what's similar and what's different, and rejoice in both of them. If you're interested in anything that VCIC is doing, you can go to vcic.info, that's INFO, and there will be information there. You can actually go and look at previous events we've had. Unfortunately, you don't get to see the Feast of Faiths. That you have to attend. So think about that for next year. I don't know how many were here for the Feast of Faiths? So was it worth going? Yeah, it was fun. So we'll be planning that again for this next year. And if you're interested in that and you're not involved with VCIC, you're always welcome to become involved and be part of that planning. So saying that, I have a pleasure of introducing Keith Salvis tonight. Keith Salvis was born in Warwick, is that how you say it, Warwick? Warwick, Rhode Island, and spent the first few years of his education in Springfield, Massachusetts. There he experienced a revival of the Springfield plan from the 1940s, but with a new twist added. Children were given a taste of racism by using their eye color as a metaphor for race and religion. The person who led the experiment, Rebecca M. Johnson, was Springfield's first Black public school principal. She left an indelible impression upon Keith's spirit, which has grown into a passion for equality for all. Keith is proud to be a member of VCIC and shares the vision of a world free of racism and religious prejudice. So Keith will be our moderator tonight, and he will introduce the speakers.
Well, I was expecting you to do a little bit. What is this?
That's not fair to him. This Sunday, I'm looking for the time, this Sunday at 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. at Temple Naramee, which is actually at the Church of Christ here in Camarillo on Temple, the Temple on Temple. They will be doing the Jewish view of immigration and the reality of U.S. immigration law, if you would like to attend. We don't usually have anything to do with politics, but it would be interesting to see the Jewish version of this.
Jerry Hilton, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here and a privilege to moderate these events. A couple of housekeeping details first. If you need to use a restroom, all the way down the hallway, this direction here to the right. If there's some kind of an emergency and we have to leave the building, all the way down and back the way you came, there's also another emergency exit over here, and that will lead us straight out to the parking lot. Wanted to get that clear. It's a small group. Hopefully nothing happens, God willing, and we're in the right place to talk about God. Now, tonight's event, we are going to talk about, well, the title to get you here is Do All Dogs Go to Heaven? And really what it is different religions, different faiths have different takes on how they treat animals. And it's always very, very respectful. But I'm looking forward to seeing a much, much different viewpoint from the three different faiths that we have represented tonight. Now, I see some of you have never been here before, never been to one of these meetings. You're in for quite a treat. This is wonderful. I see a lot of you that have been here before, and unfortunately, you know what to expect. You know what we're like. It is the tradition of Ventura County Interfaith Community when we have these events that the oldest faith tradition will go first, followed by the second, and then, of course, the last one. They will all talk for 12 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, and then after that, they will ask each other questions first, and then we will open it up to questions from the audience. What I'd like to do is a brief introduction of the three people sitting up here, and then before each one speaks, then I will read their bio. That'll make a much better flow. So we have Dr. Timothy Helton, who will be talking about Jainism, where he has his doctorate in that. The Reverend Jamie Barnett, who will represent Christianity. And Arash Payan, who will be representing the Baha'i faith. So, Jainism is the oldest of the faith traditions, and let me read Dr. Helton's bio. Tim Helton holds a PhD and an MS from Drew University, where he specialized in anthropology of religion. He also has an MA in theological studies from Claremont School of Theology. He has done field work amongst Jains in the United States and India. His dissertation compares the attitudes of Jains and Christians toward consumerism. Tim is a member of St. Columba's Episcopal Church, where we happen to be right now. He's the publicity director and a founding member of the Ventura County Interfaith Community. He serves on the board of clergy and laity for United for Economic. He serves, let me do that again so I can do it properly. He serves on the board of Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice, Ventura County, and the Oxnard Homeless Prevention Program. He's also the board president for United Parents. Representing Jainism and their treatment of animals and how they respect them, Dr. Timothy Helton. Please welcome him.
Thank you, Keith. It's a pleasure to be here. I sent this, you all got an email that said, do all dogs go to heaven, I think. And I sent it to Janice Dario as well. Janice Dario used to teach philosophy at Moore Park College and then at St. John's Seminary. Anyway, her response was, I'm sure all dogs go to heaven, but all cats go to hell. So with that, our topic tonight asks whether all dogs go to heaven, and my task is to try to give a Jain answer to that question. In order to do so, we will have to unpack how Jains think of the animal kingdom. Before doing that, however, let me put the cart before the horse by offering you the conclusion before the introduction. The short answer to the first question is that some dogs go to heaven. The answer to the question of how Jains think of the animal kingdom is that they see animals more as their peers than as lower beings. So watch for those two statements during the talk. But hold on for just a second. I see I've lost some of you already. Some of you are wondering, what is a Jain? Jains are followers of Jainism, an ancient, Jains are followers of Jainism, an ancient Indian faith that traces its roots to a sort of super being named Mahavir. Mahavir, a contemporary of the Buddha, lived somewhere around the 6th century BCE. Like the Buddha, he sought liberation from the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Today, there are some 4 to 5 million Jains who follow the ancient religion. While most live in India, those who live in the diaspora are not an insignificant number. Clip off the paper. There we go. Nor is the influence of Jainism unfelt in the United States. Gandhi, though a Hindu, was deeply influenced by Jainism, and demonstrably, that influence extended through Gandhi to Martin Luther King Jr. and the nonviolent nature of the civil rights movement in the United States. We could spend a profitable hour or two on core Jain values, chief of which is ahimsa, or radical nonviolence. But we had better move along, or we won't have time to answer our burning question as to whether all dogs go to heaven. To approach this question, we will have to first understand something of how Jains think about the natural world. For Jains, the universe is composed of 6 substances that fall into 2 categories. The first 5 of these substances are non-living, or what we would think of as the material world. These are ajivas, or matter, including karma, space, time, the medium of motion, and the medium of rest. The 6th substance are jivas, or living beings, including plants, animals, people, and the 4 primal elements, earth, fire, water, and air. Since animals are jivas, we should probably look a little closer at this 6th substance. Jains classify jivas according to the number of senses that they have. Thus, Jains speak of 1-sensed, 2-sensed, 3-sensed, 4-sensed, and 5-sensed beings. Umasvati, a Jain who lived somewhere between the 2nd and the 5th centuries Common Era, provides most of what we know about this worldview. 1-sense beings, according to Umasvati, 1-sense beings possess the sense of touch and include earth, air, water, fire, and plants. Please remember this is an ancient religion, so don't work too hard on trying to get this faith to this worldview to square with a modern worldview. Just note that earth, including clods of dirt and specks of sand, are living beings, as are air, water, ice, steam, and fire. 2-sense beings, like worms, mollusks, and the like, enjoy a sense of taste as well as that of touch. 3-sense beings add a sense of smell, while 4th-sense and 5th-sense beings, respectively, possess senses of sight and hearing. In addition to the distinguishing living beings by the number of senses, Umasvati also distinguished between those that possess the mind, or the ability to remember, reason, and anticipate, and those that do not. Regardless of the number of senses, these beings are alike in the fact that they are continuously reborn into lives of suffering due to karmic entanglement and they are capable of advancing toward liberation if they will tread the liberated path. To do so, of course, they must first be born in a human form. But this is why I say that they are more like peers than like lower beings. For in the Jain worldview, all humans have gone through countless births as plants and animals before being born as a human being. And unless they tread the liberative path very carefully, they will undergo countless additional births as plants and animals. In my studies of Jainism, two things brought home the depth of this belief for Jains. The first was during my first trip to India. When the monsoons came that summer, one of the interesting things that happened was that a large number of small frogs materialized as a result of the rains. One of the boys, whose family accompanied us on our trip, picked up one of the frogs. When his grandmother saw him holding the frog, she exclaimed, "Put him down, you'll do murder." The other thing that brought the gravity of this belief home to me was the Jain prayer. Whoever may have been caused pain by my touching or tilting them, whomever may have been tormented by being turned completely upside down, may all that be forgiven. In this prayer, the penitent is, of course, talking about the possibility of having upset insects or bugs. In light of this belief that all living beings deserve to be treated with respect that drives their most significant core value, ahimsa, or radical nonviolence. In support of this value, almost all Jains practice lacto-vegetarianism. This limiting their diet to one-sense beings, but a lacto-vegetarian diet is really the least of their practice. Many Jains wear masks to avoid harming the air with the violence of their breath, and others carefully screen their water in order to avoid harming the microbes that live in the water. With this understanding of the Jain worldview, we are almost ready to try to answer our central question: do all dogs go to heaven? But first, we have to say something about what the Jain idea of heaven is. Jains believe in a four-part universe, which is often imagined as the figure of a cosmic man. At the lowest level are the hellish regions. At the middle level is the earth, which is inhabited by human lives. Above that region are the heavenly realms, but what Jains call heaven isn't what we think of as heaven. For those who inhabit the heavenly realms, depending on their karmic entanglement, will one day be reborn in either earthly region or in the hellish regions. Heaven is pleasant enough, but the fact that one must be reborn in one of the regions where suffering exists robs it of some of its joy. The real heaven for Jains, if I can use that term, is what Jains call the Siddha realm. For it is in this realm that those who have overcome their karmic entanglement and been liberated from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth exist for eternity. So as I said at the beginning, some dogs go to heaven. Those that have been reborn in human form and in that form have followed the liberated path still achieve liberation and exist forever in the Siddha realm. Indeed, several of the 24 jinas, or super beings, who now inhabit Siddha, were born as animals before they took human form and tread the liberative path. Some say, for example, that Mahavir, the jina that we met at the beginning of this talk, was once born as a lion. According to that legend, in an earlier life as a lion, Mahavir was enjoying the flesh of a beast he had just killed. When two Jain monks, knowing the future of the jiva that would become Mahavira, preached nonviolence to him, immediately the lion realized the error of his ways and developed a spiritual yearning. In response to that yearning, he asked the monks to tell them that's the secret of liberation. When they did this, the lion embraced nonviolence. 2 lifetimes later, he was born as Mahavir and achieved liberation. So yes, lions go to heaven, and so why not dogs? Oh, you want the mic back?
Yeah, this is going to work a lot better than the lavalier. I just didn't want to struggle with the sound of that. Dr. Hilton, very nice, thank you. I can see that there is much more to be discovered in this, so hopefully that will come out when you all grill each other, and that's going to be a lot of fun to see. Our next panelist is the Reverend Jamie Barnett, who will be representing Christianity. She is an Episcopal priest and has served as the vicar of the Church of the Epiphany in Oak Park, California since July 2021. Yes. Raised in Mississippi and Georgia, Jamie attended the University of Mississippi, where she graduated with a BA in speech and theater. Following graduation, she moved to California, raised 6 children, wow, and enjoyed a long career in television at CBS Studio Center, working in the grip department from 1993 till 2022. In 2000, she became the first and still the only female to have ever led a grip department at any major Hollywood studio. During her time at CBS, she also discovered and joined All Saints Episcopal Church in Pasadena. After the tragic loss of her only daughter, Ashley, in 2005, Jamie began to sense a call to ordained ministry and began her theological studies at Bloy House in Los Angeles, the Episcopal Divinity School in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Claremont School of Theology, where she earned her Master's of Divinity after being ordained in 2019. She became the assistant rector at St. Michael's and All Saints Episcopal Church in Studio City until she was called from there to serve at Church of the Epiphany. Jamie's other calling in life has been her involvement with a victim advocacy organization known as International Cruise Victims, dedicated to advancing the safety and increasing the rights and security of cruise ship passengers. She has served as president since 2006. While engaged in that work, she has been a guest on many network news and streaming platforms, radio programs, and podcasts, including most recently the Netflix docuseries Amy Bradley is Missing. That is a 3-part docuseries, very powerful, and you have a very powerful presence. You come in very early in the first episode. Yeah, it was very, very well done. But on a lighter note, before I hand over the mic to you, would you explain to everybody here, what is a grip? Yes, exactly.
In the motion picture and television industry, there are all kinds of crews, that make a motion picture or television show possible. And the grips work in conjunction with the lighting technicians on a set. They filter the light, they direct the light, they work up high, way up high in the perms on the stage. And it's kind of scary up there. But it's definitely a man's world, and it was most unusual for a woman to end up in that position. And I loved every minute of it. I really did. So.
Let's have a nice welcome for Reverend.
Thank you. Thank you.
up after myself, shouldn't I?
Maybe, I don't know. And here's your clicker.
You want the clicker?
It's not will it work on
Yes.
mine too? Oh, it will? Oh, okay. All right, wonderful then. Okay. And it's there, okay. I just want to say, first of all, thank you to the Ventura County Interfaith community for arranging this panel conversation tonight, and to St. Columba's for hosting us. You know, for me, our topic for tonight is a very tender one, and I suspect it is for a lot of you, or you wouldn't be here tonight. It is for me because as I began to sort out all of the parts of this and the parts that animals play in Christian hope and eschatology, and that process includes the question of whether animals have souls, whether they share in what we Christians call redemption, and whether they will be with us humans in the new creation that God has prepared for us. And I say that in parentheses because we'll talk about that some more. This is an issue that touches upon our love for God's entire creation and the way we care for all the creatures of the earth, and our hope for what the future holds. I'm going to admit that for many years I treasured this little poem. It's very soppy sweet, called The Rainbow Bridge. And some of you are probably familiar with it. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's been comforted by it, because let's face it, grieving the loss of animals, whether we're grieving the extinction of an entire species or the loss of our own beloved pet, our grief is a serious matter. And I think many people, including Christians of all kinds, find comfort in thinking and believing or hoping that one day we'll all be reunited, especially with our cherished pets, much like this poem suggests. And here are the words of that sentimental poem. I know you can't read them from that screen, so this is what it says. Just this side of heaven is a place called Rainbow Bridge. When an animal dies that has been especially close to someone here on earth, that pet goes to Rainbow Bridge. There are meadows and hills for all our special friends there so they can run and play together. There's plenty of food and water and sunshine, and our friends are warm and welcome there. All the animals who have been ill or old are restored to health and strength. Those who were hurt are made better and strong again, like we remember them before they went to heaven. They're happy and content, except for one small thing. They each miss someone very special to them who had to be left behind. They all run and play together, but one day, the day comes when one of them suddenly stops and looks in the distance. His bright eyes are shining, his body shakes, and suddenly he begins to break from the herd and rushes over the grass, his legs carrying him faster and faster, till you and your special friend finally meet again. Instantly, you cuddle in a happy hug, never to be apart again. You and your pet are probably in tears. Your hands caress his head, and you look again into those trusting eyes, so long gone from your life, but never absent from your heart. And then you cross over that rainbow bridge together. That's hard to even read without, getting choked up. But unfortunately, Christian beliefs on animals going to heaven are very diverse. with no single view or theory that would be considered doctrinal or definitive. Some claim and believe animals will be in the new age described in Scripture, while others believe the Bible doesn't quite provide enough information for us to know for sure. The scholarship and beliefs that came out of the early church traditions are such that generally considered animals not to have mortal souls, and thus that they do not go to heaven. However, and this is where my ears really perked up and my heart skips a beat, this is a developing area of thought. Modern theology and scriptural interpretation seem to have a little more room for hope for a reunion of people with animals, which is grounded, all of it, in God's love for all of creation and informed by biblical descriptions of a restored creation where animals and humans coexist peacefully. So let's take a look at a few of these thoughts and inspirations that have come from many relatively modern theologians and figures, such as Pope John Paul II, Pope Francis, C.S. Lewis, and I'm just going to throw this out there because it's true, even Billy Graham had thoughts on whether or not animals had an afterlife with us. And as did many of the other folks, but the number includes the likes of John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, and Martin Luther, who initiated the Protestant Reformation. And there were some Christian figures who had special relationships with animals, such as St. Francis of Assisi, who preached to the animals, and St. Anthony of Padua, who was said to preach to fish, who apparently would come up above the water line to hear his sermons. But among the scholars and thinkers of the past, John Wesley, whose scope of writing on this subject was quite ambitious, wrote in favor of salvation of animals, saying that they would be restored in the resurrection to a higher degree of strength, vigor, and happiness in the new heaven and new earth, with a possibility that they could be elevated to a state of being able to know and to love God. The fullest description of Wesley's views on that topic can be seen in his creative and speculative sermon called The General Deliverance, written later in his life during the 1780s. So his theology went way back on that subject. C.S. Lewis, his argument that animals will be in heaven was similar to Wesley's, in that it too was based on the restoration of right relationships between God, humanity, and the created order. In his book, The Problem of Pain, the topic appears in the chapter on God's love, where he uses the something sorry, wrong page. The analogy of a dog owner and his pet to posit that our beloved companions will be with us in heaven as they were on earth. The bond between dog and master, as Lewis describes it, will not be broken, but will in fact make the animal's presence there possible. So, as I promised earlier, and you'll like this one, Billy Graham, who weighed in on this subject, said, God will prepare everything for our perfect happiness in heaven. And if it takes my dog being there, I believe he'll be there. He believed that since God created animals and they bring us happiness, He would provide, God would provide them in heaven to complete our joy. And don't I hope he's right? The theology of redemption has most often been focused exclusively on us humans. But Pope Francis, who wrote what Catholic sister and scholar Elizabeth Johnson refers to as the greatest papal encyclical ever, known as Laudato Si, or On Care for Our Common Home, wrote, and I'm fascinated by this because here, this is the Catholic, this is the Catholic, viewpoint, which I think is really, really interesting. He says, each year sees the disappearance of thousands of animal species which we will never know, which our children will never see because they've been lost forever. The great majority become extinct for reasons related to human activity. Because of us, thousands of species will no longer give glory to God by their very existence, nor convey their message to us. We have no such right. He continues his theology about the relationship that exists between God and animals, as he suggests that whether a creature lives only a few minutes or a long life, they belong to God, and God is with them. But even more profound was his statement at the end of Laudato Si, saying, at the end, we will find ourselves face to face with the infinite beauty of God, in which each creature, resplendently transfigured, will take its rightful place. I don't think that's good. No, he didn't. There it is. I think that's a good image of each creature rightfully restored. I'm gonna skip a little bit because I didn't time this and I don't want to take up any more time. Is that what your little sign was for? That's what I thought. Okay. Animals are among God's most diverse gifts of humankind to humankind. And we see them as they are objects of God's care many times in Scripture. Psalm 150. Let's look at really quickly. I'll just, lost it. Sorry. Oh, no. Oh, thank you. This is one that is really, really important to me. And this was Elizabeth Johnson, again, who was, she's a professor emerita of Fordham University, brilliant woman. And she points out this psalm that says, your judgments are like the great deep. You save humans and animals alike, O Lord. How precious is your steadfast love, O God. And when she really read that, she said to herself, why don't we know this? Why don't we know this? God saves humans and animals alike. And that changed everything for me. And I was delighted to have that as scriptural support for what I hope. So now in wrapping it up, I'm going to let you, these are all other places where we have scriptural support that God cares about animals, all right? Different scriptural pieces. Now, this, and I'm not sure I'm going to, is something that I used when we did our Blessing of the Animals service, and it's a lovely little song that I think helps us see. It's just 1 minute, and it helps us imagine that all the gifts God has given us and the way, in fact, that maybe our animals help humans to expand their idea of us when we talk about what God has done for us and what God has done for animals. So here it is.
Absolutely, yes. Very interesting. Now, our last panelist, Arash Payan, will be talking about the Baha'i consideration of animals, and Arash has asked me not to give a lengthy bio. He prefers to be very humble, and it is not a false humility. I know this man very well. Love him like my own brother. He's here with his wife and his 2 daughters. Arash? Oh, I will say this. Arash does have a degree in computer science, and I know you don't want it, but you are our techie. Hey, you got any tech problems? This guy right here. Arash, welcome. Come on. Everybody?
Thanks, Keith. And thank you all for, thank you, St. Columbus, for hosting our forum this evening. Am I talking loud enough? Is it okay? All right. Okay. So I just want to preface my talk with the fact that this is my understanding as one individual Baha'i. We have no clergy in the Baha'i faith. I have no right to be an interpreter of this. This is just my own understanding, so please keep that in mind when I'm sharing what I have here. And I guess the next thing I should tell you is a little bit about what is the Baha'i faith, because that might be new to you. So the Baha'i faith is a world religion founded by the prophet founder Baha'u'llah in the mid-19th century, 1863 specifically is when he declared his mission. And broadly speaking, the faith that we practice is one that believes in one God, the same God of Abraham, of Muhammad, of Christ, of Buddha. We believe that the religions of God are actually one religion that are progressively being revealed to mankind. As mankind matures and evolves throughout time, God sends a new messenger from time to time to update the teachings so that man can understand more about his existence and what's after. That's just a 5-second intro there. So anyway, so to really understand to answer the question about do animals or do all dogs go to heaven, I think it's important to understand the Baha'i viewpoint about the station of animals and the station of all creation. So I'll go to the next slide. So I'll start with generally speaking, it's understood there are 5 kinds of spirit in the world of creation, or in the existence, I should say, or in the world. The first, the first is the vegetable spirit, which is from the composition and combination of elements, has the power of growth. And that will give you the spirit of a vegetable, but whenever the vegetable's parts, dissolve, separate, dies off, that spirit also ceases to exist. After that, we have the animal spirit, which is, again, another composition of elements, the combination of attributes that form an animal. But this is a higher level of spirit, a higher station, we would say. And the animal has the benefit of senses, right? You can seeing, touch, sense of smell, taste, and hearing. But similarly, and this is the answer right here, as Baha'is believe, whenever the animal dies or passes away, the spirit of the animal also ceases to exist. After that, we have I'm sorry, I was supposed to click in through. After that, we also have the human spirit, and this is where the human spirit, being the most perfect creation in existence, deviates from the animal in that whenever the human spirit, or whenever the human body dies, the human spirit continues on into the worlds of God after. And just to clarify what Baha'is believe about this, the idea of a binary heaven or hell is not something in the Baha'i faith. What we see is that there is an afterlife, and what we do to prepare ourselves here by developing our divine virtues is what helps us build our spiritual limbs, our arms and legs, our eyes, our senses, what we need for that next world. Not physically, I would want to emphasize this. These are spiritual limbs and arms, right? These are just metaphors. The next world, we believe, is not constrained by physical space and time. This is something beyond our comprehension. All that we know is that we need to practice our virtues and develop our virtues and become closer to God here and pray and serve so that we have these characteristics that we need for our afterlife. Just as whenever the child is in the womb of the mother, they're developing their arms and limbs and eyes and ears, but They certainly don't need it inside there, but they need it for when they get out. So it's the same thing for us here right now. We can't even fathom what's in the next life, but we need to develop ourselves here. I'll race through the fourth and fifth one. The fourth one is the heavenly spirit, which is the spirit of faith and from the outpouring of God. And it's the one that perfects the imperfect man, that gives knowledge to the ignorant. This is the thing that transforms us and brings us closer to God. This is the spirit of faith that exists in the world. And then the fifth spirit is the Holy Spirit. This is the spirit that mediates God and us, that brings us together. This is the spirit that whenever comes to earth and rejuvenates the world, turns winter to spring. And specifically, to be more concrete about it, I'm referring to the manifestations of God, the prophets of God. So Abraham, Zoroaster, Christ, Buddha, Muhammad, the Bab, and of course Baha'u'llah. So I'm talking very fast, I'm so sorry. So I'll continue on now. So now that we have an idea of what that is, I'll continue on with how now we should be treating animals, given their station. We've acknowledged that their station is below that of man, but how are we supposed to treat them? And so I'll just pointing out two of the writings here. There are more writings that I'm sourcing from here, but I put two up in particular. So it says, if ye should hunt with beasts or birds of prey, invoke ye the name of God, which is God is great, when ye send them to pursue their quarry. Take heed, however, that ye hunt not to excess. Tread ye the path of justice and equity in all things. So hunting is permitted in the Baha'i faith, if you need for food and purposes, but if not to hunt to excess and to keep justice in mind at all times. And then another one of the laws is burden not an animal with more than it can bear. We truly have prohibited such treatment through a most binding interdiction in the book being the most holy book in the Baha'i faith, which is the Book of Laws. And this is from. Be the embodiments of justice and fairness amidst all creation. So despite the lower station of animals, we still have a great responsibility to taking care of animals and creation. Let me see if I move on to that. Oh, and so now that we have an idea of this relationship between animals, I'd like to read this passage describing how we should be treating animals. So I put up the exact verbiage from the writings and here on this slide, but I'll say it a little bit paraphrased, and it talks about how we should, again, treat animals and how we should have our children treat animals. And I'll simplify the quote as I read it. Briefly, it is not only their fellow human beings that the beloved of God must treat with mercy and compassion. Rather, they must show forth the utmost loving kindness to every living creature. For in all physical respects, and where the animal spirit is concerned, the same feelings are shared by animal and man. Man hath not grasped this truth, and he believes that physical sensations are confined to human beings. Therefore, they are unjust and cruel to animals. So this quote is from Abdu'l-Baha, who was the son of our prophet, founder Baha'u'llah, describing that, of course, animals feel pain. They have the same sensations we do, and so we should not be harming them. We should not be cruel and unjust to them. I think most of us agree with that, though, but this is not a common belief all around the world, nor was it 200 years ago. But of course, we should not be cruel and unjust to them. And yet, in truth, what difference is there when it comes to physical sensations? The feelings are one and the same. Whether you inflict pain on man or on beast, there is no difference here whatever. And indeed, you do worse to harm an animal, for man can speak. He can file a complaint. He can cry out and moan. If injured, he can have recourse and go to the authorities, and they will protect him from his aggressor. But the poor beast is mute, able neither to express its pain nor to take its case to the authorities. If a man inflicts 1,000 ills upon a beast, it can't ward him off with speech or take him to court. Therefore, it is essential that you show forth with the utmost consideration to the animal, and that ye be even kinder to him than to your fellow man. So the responsibility is great. Just because it's an animal, just because it's of lower station to you, doesn't mean that you can treat them any worse. And right here we're seeing you have to treat them better, be more careful with them. And lastly from this talk, train your children from their earliest days to be infinitely tender and loving to animals. If an animal be sick, let the children try to heal it. If it be hungry, let them feed it. If thirsty, let them quench its thirst. If weary, let them see that it rests. Most human beings are sinners, but the beasts are innocent. Surely those without sin should receive the most kindness and love. And I want to talk a little bit about that. Why is it that human beings are considered sinners, but the animals are not? The animals have no divine attributes. The animals can mimic and show these what seems to be kindness and love. Well, it is love. I'm not going to say it's not love, but they're not striving for divinity. They're living within their means, within their station, and they're not judged by the same standards that we are. And so they are without sin. Us, on the other hand, though, most of us are sinners. Yeah. So. Okay, so I don't think any discussion about animals can be complete without talking about the animals that we eat. It's all fine to say we love animals, but we all kill a lot of animals. It may not be a dog or a favorite bird pet or something, but cows, etc., are also animals, right? And we eat them. And so in regard to this, it's written in the Baha'i faith that it's not explicitly prohibited to avoid meat and animals, but it is certain that it's preferable that we are vegetarians in the Baha'i faith, and to avoid killing animals is preferable. And then and we believe in the Baha'i faith that in the future humanity will develop and avoid eating meat altogether. But of course, it's acceptable to eat meat if it's so required. And I believe that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you.
Arash, thank you very much. That is great. Big round for everybody. Before we, this has got to be one of the most diverse panels that I have ever encountered here. Do dogs go to heaven? The answer is yes, maybe, no. What could be more diverse than that? That is incredible. So before I hand the microphone over to you, I want to seed maybe a couple of questions to get you guys talking to each other. First of all, cats go to heaven. I'm cat people. That's it. That's done. Cats go to heaven. Now I'm going to get to that. The thing is, if all dogs go to heaven, that place is going to be, I forgot to turn off my alarm. Just thank you very much. Place is going to be overrun by squirrels. Have you seen all the squirrels around? Oh my goodness. So the question that I want to start and see the question, everyone agrees about how to treat an animal. Cruelty, do not be cruel to an animal, how to treat it if you're going to slaughter it for food. But I haven't heard anything in any of the scriptures about pets. Is there any specific reference in any religion about having an animal as a pet? Let's go with that.
So, I don't know of a specific scriptural reference in Jainism. I do know that Jains do not keep dogs or cats as pets because dogs and cats are carnivores. I believe that, I also know in India we visited in Delhi a bird hospital, and those I think are fairly frequently maintained by the Jain community. So there is that aspect of taking care of birds, and I think that probably, honey, do you remember if any of the Jains had pets other than dogs or cats? Well, we'll leave it at that. That's the extent of my knowledge.
As far as I know, there is no scripture regarding whether or not it's acceptable or prohibited to have pets. I mean, it's acceptable. There's no prohibitions on it. Yeah. I guess if you just go with that second quote, though, you should not be placing a great burden on that pet, though. Like, for example, if you're on a farm, you don't want to be,
I am the same. The only thing I could think of was in Scripture when it tells us that the great flood was coming, and Noah gathered up all every species, 2 of every species. And I think to most theologians that meant, God had a purpose for all of those animals. So why don't we just say there were dogs and cats and birds and hamsters and all of that, probably in that group that were destined to be our special beloved pets. It doesn't say so, but, that's as close as I could bring us.
This is such a diverse group. You've got to have some questions for each other. Maybe. No. Yes.
Jamie, you quoted a number of theologians. 3 of them, as I counted them, Billy Graham believed that his dog would be in heaven. 2 others, Anthony and St. Francis, preached to the animals. So presumably, he preached to them because he wanted to save their souls, and they would go to heaven. I'm stretching things a little. Did any of the other theologians think that pets would go to specific animals? So they all believed that in the new creation there would be animals, but that doesn't necessarily imply that an existing animal would be resurrected and go to heaven. So I'm wondering, in your research, whether it was just Billy Graham and presumably Anthony and St. Francis, or if any of the others thought that way too.
I think most of the scholars that I read agreed that there would be salvation for them in the form of redemption. So I do think that they, if you really want to get right down to it, I think most of the ones I quoted, at any rate, would support the fact that animals have a soul and they are saved. At that verse from the Psalms that said, "O Lord, you save humans and animals alike," tells me they are redeemed.
Okay. I was wondering about, in the diagram you put up of the regions that you die to and are born to in Jainism, the top one, Siddhartha? Siddha. Oh, Siddha. What would it have taken for any spirit to get to Siddha and stay in Siddha, presumably, right? Yeah.
Once a spirit, a jiva, a life form, achieves Siddha, yes, they remain in Siddha for the rest of their existence. What it takes to get there is a complete awakening to nonviolence, so a renunciation of violence completely. So the Mahavir, as a lion, it was said he went to learn to eat grass. And then, as Mahavira became a monk, he would have renounced food except for that which was left over from a householder's table. So renunciation is an important part of the ladder. And then there's a process of basically taming the senses so that the passion, one becomes unaffected by passion. One becomes so calm and so peaceful that one doesn't experience passion. So there's actually, Jane's picture it as a ladder of, I think, 11 stages. It's been a while since I looked at this, but I believe there are 11 stages on the ladder, beginning with the renunciation of violence and ending up where you have such control over your passions that you don't experience passion anymore. And that's the liberative state, is that in Siddha you exist in a total passionless, without desire, without anger, without any of the passions.
I had a question for Jamie, but I have a follow-up question for you too. I don't know which way I should go first. I'll go to Jamie first. Okay. So for the animals, I'm wondering, what is it that so you're saying the animals are redeemed, but what are the animals being redeemed for? What is it that they have? What wrongs have they committed to need to be redeemed?
By redemption, I'm saying they are restored to their original glory that God intended for them. Not that they've done anything wrong at all, but that, and you can look at it like Billy Graham said, maybe if what heaven is what makes us happy, they're there because they make us happy purely. I have a hard time with that one, but not because they've done anything wrong, but we humans relate to the word redeemed in Christianity or salvation, and to say that the animals are awarded that same journey into that created universe that we are, probably by virtue of the fact that they never did sin.
Okay, I got the follow-up for you now. Can I keep asking, or do I have to stop? Okay. So you said that, for example, the lion, Mahavir, he renounced violence and took up eating grass. So is it that Jains are judged, their rebirth is judged at the time of their death? It's not cumulative, like, oh, well, when you were a child you did this or whatever, for example, because maybe when they were a child they did eat food that was not scraps from another table. So is it just judged at the moment of passing?
No, it's judged according to a karmic burden. So from the very earliest time of a jiva's existence, they come into existence. They don't come into existence. They've always existed with a karmic burden. So they always exist with accumulated karma. And as they go through their various existences, they either shed that karma or they accumulate more karma. So Mahavira would have, if he had continued to eat meat, would have always accumulated more karma. And so and all beings have to be born as a human to understand how to tread the liberative path. And part of that liberative path is the reason that you want to overcome your passions is because that also is part of the karmic burden. So it's all about the accumulation of karma. And if you do something as a child, if you eat meat as a child, you accumulate karma. If you then you can shed that karma through overcoming your passions and what have you. So and karma is shed by also unpleasant events. So if you were hurt or if you lost something, that might shed some karma. So the whole point of the liberative path is to accumulate less karma and shed more karma, so that at the end of your life, hopefully you've shed all of your karma and accumulated no more karma. Should we go for the audience? You got another one for us?
Let me see if I can elicit some more questioning. I noticed that Jainism, it has a hierarchical sense in that the senses, 1 sense, 2 sense, 3 sense, and that in Baha'i you were talking about vegetable, animal, and there seems to be a parallel in that the oldest religion and the youngest religion here are concerned with the actual nature, the structure, the internal structures of the soul and what it means. In Christianity, only touches on that very, very lightly and is mostly concerned with just redemption. So I see a strong parallel between your two religions. Did you want to talk with each other about that?
I actually want to take exception with the idea that there's a hierarchy amongst jivas. There's a hierarchy in the bodies that a jiva inhabits. But a jiva is a jiva is a jiva. And that's why I said that all life is peers. So if I think of an ant, the reason I don't want to tumble him over or tilt him is because that ant may have been me at one point, may have been a parent or a grandparent at one point, and that ant may someday be a human being who achieves liberation. So I would take exception with the idea that there's a hierarchy amongst jivas. But but there is a parallel there, isn't there? That there are 5 states of being, and I'll let you respond to that.
Oh, yeah, well, I think the difference is, though, with, I think you're right about, yeah, they seem most peers in Jainism, I get that. In the faith, though, there's no transition between the different stations. A plant spirit is always a plant spirit. An animal cannot move up to becoming an animal. An animal cannot become a human being, like a human soul. And similarly, a human cannot become God. A human cannot become, like, there's nothing I can do to make myself become Christ or any other manifestation of God. Like, I'm just me. But there are infinite levels of perfection that we can have at each of these stations. A human can always be progressing towards that perfection, similar to an animal can, and the plant can as well, right? The seed of a plant starts as a seed, and it starts acquiring perfections as it grows. And it's the same with us, except our ability or our timeline, if you can say timeline, for achieving our human perfection is eternal. So this is just the beginning of our true life in the Baha'i sense starts after we pass away. That's when true life really begins and we're truly born. Yeah.
I wonder if, to ask both of you, if you put Buddhism in there with each of yours, how Jains and how Baha'i differ from what we conceive of, most of us, as Buddhist characteristics or theology. Because it seems, some with the karma and that kind of thing to be have tenets that are in each. What would y'all say to that?
Well, Buddhism is different, not so much in theology. Buddhism and Jainism emerged both in the 6th century BCE in what's now Nepal or northern India. And they were both a reaction to a Hindu tradition, a proto-Hindu tradition. And the distinction I would make between Buddhism and Jainism is that Jainism is very severe in its austerities. And the Buddha insisted that he took a middle path. He didn't want to be profligate, but he didn't want all of the austerity of the Jains too. But the notion of karma, the notion of rebirth, reincarnation, the notion of enlightenment or a state of non-passion, I think is common to both of them. I think Jains might describe Siddha differently than Buddha would describe nirvana, although there's so many branches of Buddhism, I'm hesitant to get too dogmatic on that, but yeah, that would be my answer.
I think it's time to open it up for questions from the audience. And Dr. Helton, I want to say thank you for taking exception to the way that I phrased that question. The reason why we are here is to, one, if we're hearing it for the first time, learn the right understanding. And if we have the wrong understandings, we ask the questions so that we can unlearn the things that we have wrong. So thank you very much on that. Absolutely. That is why we're here. And I'm one who's not afraid to embarrass myself whatsoever. I like taking the point. We're going to open it up for questions. And then after that, maybe if you want to give a final statement, one thing about the questions from the audience, and I think you can back me up on this, we call these radio rules or television rules. I hold the microphone. Do not touch the mic. You do understand. I'm a radio guy. That was one of the things we learned interviewing people. Never let the person answering the question asking touch the mic. Exactly that. So I hope that doesn't intimidate you too much. And if it does, who wants to be my first victim? Who's got a question? Sir, it's VJ? Hey, nice to meet you. Pleasure.
I'm gonna probably So don't take me as a kill for that. 85 to 87% of the people are going to hate me after I ask this question. I'm a vegetarian, right? I'm a Hindu, staunch Hindu following. One, we just talked about dogs and cat. And yes, your cat will go to heaven, Keith. I'm sure about that. You are a life friend. Yeah, absolutely. But why are we so selective when we say dogs and cats, we'll keep them as pets, but other animals okay to kill? Let's kill them and eat them, that's fine. So two-part question. One is that, and let me cross the bridge and go on the other side, okay? It's okay. I don't eat it, that's okay, it's my faith, okay? I go to the other side and say, it's okay to eat. But then again, we are saying only these we can eat and that. Is there any specific in any of the scriptures where it mentions anything like that, allowed, not allowed kind of categories of eating what animals or whatnot in any of the faiths we are discussing today? Yeah, thank you, Keith.
You're welcome, Vijay. I know. The question is, Vijay was asking, why is it certain animals we eat and certain animals that we don't? And that goes straight to Moses, doesn't it? Who wants to answer that question? Okay.
So in the Baha'i scripture, there is nothing that says this animal is more sacred or more blessed or anything than any other. So whenever we're talking about hunting, it's hunting whatever. Whenever we're talking becoming a vegetarian, we're saying don't eat any animal. Don't be cruel to any animal. It's not being picky. So I think does that answer, at least from that one point of view, that answers the question? Yeah. Well, I think if I just may speak for what happens in Judaism, and if someone else wants to call me out on this, go ahead. But the laws of Moses were abrogated by Christ, so I don't think as Christians have to obey the laws of kosher, huh? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Jamie, you talk about that.
I would agree. You're right, talking about Moses and what was acceptable to eat and what wasn't. When Jesus came into being and taught that there was no unclean. So it changed. It changed with him.
James? I don't really answer this all.
I don't know.
Vijay, great question. Yeah, I just remember in the Mosaic Law that there were some very interesting restrictions, such as pig has never actually been forbidden. It's just that an animal has to chew a cud and what was the other? Oh, have a split hoof. Yes, and and I have read in the Quran that you can actually eat pig if your choices are starving to death and eating a pig. It's okay, but other than that, it is strictly forbidden. Yeah, exactly that. So Vijay, great question. Any other questions? They don't have to be great questions. Hey, how are you?
I almost feel tempted to ask you about 1844. That's very interesting, and the Jan's amazing. Okay, let me just make a quick comment. The clean and unclean did exist before, because in Noah's Ark there was 7 of clean and 2 of every unclean. So that distinction was before Moses. And you are? Oh, Tom. Hi, Tom. How's it going? It's going Keith? Great. Okay, sounds good. Okay, soul. I noticed that the different religions believe in a more, that we have a soul which is distinct from us or something. And I don't personally believe that, but that's okay. I just, maybe give some thought to that. Can I give 3 scriptures for them to?
But as far as me, I'm just the moderator. I'm
okay.
Peter at the gate. These are the people you want to talk to.
Okay. I just want to encourage everyone to take a look in the Bible. 1 Timothy 6:16, Genesis 2:7, and Genesis 3:4. It has having to do with the immortality and God breathing the breath of life into Adam, and he became a living soul. Also, an observation. I didn't really. You had a really good question earlier about what about these pets. I just noticed this for the first time tonight. In Exodus chapter 20, verse 10, the commandment is, the fourth commandment is that even the cattle get a day off of rest once a week. Yes. So that was interesting. I didn't notice that until you mentioned. Yeah, thank you. I would like to ask him about 1844, but that's another time, I guess, maybe.
No, we can do that now. Yes.
So I mentioned when I said that the Baha'i faith was started in 1863 by the Declaration of Baha'u'llah, I was trying to summarize it because I didn't have a ton of time, but you're right. The Baha'i faith sees its point of inception as 1844 because that is when the Bab, who we see as the forerunner of Baha'u'llah, similar to John the Baptist and Christ, the Bab came and declared his mission in 1844, and actually on the Baha'i calendar, 1844 in the Gregorian calendar is year zero in the Baha'i calendar. And so that's that. But then Baha'u'llah, who is the one that the Bab was heralding, declared his mission in 1863. So does that help clarify the 1844, 1863? Yeah. Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Sure. I think Maishvara had a question back there.
Be right there, Maishvara.
This is a simple question for the lady on the left. The first slide you put up with all the words and stuff talking about the rainbow bridge and the animals are all going to happily meet up in the rainbow bridge in the sky. Where did that come from?
For years and years and years, it was disputed and the authorship was unknown. Only recently was it discovered, and now so saith National Geographic. It was written by a Scottish woman, and I wish I could tell you the date. I think in the early 1900s or so, somewhere in there. I can't remember the date, but now it's believed that she was the one, but it has many iterations because for so long the authorship was unknown and uncredited. So.
Very good. I think Siri could answer that question in a million different ways. We have another. Maishvara, you have another question. Excellent.
Okay, that's nice. It was very nice, but I'm trying to figure out how does that theologically fit in? Is that something that the Episcopalians particularly appreciate? Or, I mean, there's all sorts of wonderful poetry. Why does that one stand out as something that has a right to be integrated into? In other words, what I'm trying to get at is most traditions have a scripture. In the Christianity, it's the Bible. Most scriptures have a tradition, a literature, which is the founding structure of the religion, such as the Bible. So I was hoping you might somehow or another say that this was extracted somewhere from the Bible through a prophet or something, but I'm not hearing that. I'm just hearing that some Scottish lady wrote it and everybody liked it.
I quoted it because so many of, and I say us, and I mean Christians, want so desperately to believe what that sweet little poem says. So we work real hard, some folks, to find ways to justify and believe that we will indeed be reunited with them. So we look for pieces of scripture and brilliant scholars or theologians who have assured us that there would be a reunion of sorts. So that, other than that, I mean, there's certainly nothing that I could say is found in Scripture that would support the sentimental words of that poem, other than our hearts long for it, you know.
We are running up to 8:30, which is about the time we would like to end the program. Is there anybody else who has a question? Just want to throw that out. Okay, would any of you like to give a final statement?
This has been a lot of fun. Just remind you of the two read two things that I said. One is that some dogs go to heaven, and the other is that animals and plants and the earth are our peers in Jainism.
Thank you. I don't have it.
I'm with you. I'm with you. It was a pleasure to be here with all of you, and I hope maybe you learned a little something new from the experience tonight. So thank you.
Thank you all. You all did great. Thank you for asking me to be a part of this tonight. I really enjoyed it. I learned some things. Survey going around. Please take the time to fill that out. It's how we learn from you how we can improve our programs in the future and better bring more understanding and more in-depth learning to you. The president would like to say something now.
Yes. We have found a great moderator here. Seriously, you do a good job, Keith. So if you like this, plan on Tuesday, January 13th. We will be having a second version of this, and we will hear from our Hindu friends. Vijay will be there as, are you going to be the speaker or Hari? Okay, Vijay will be speaking for Hinduism. And we have from the Imam from Caneo Valley Muslim Center, Islamic Center, thank you, honey, will be speaking for Islam. And Rabbi Mike Lotker will be speaking for Judaism. So it will be an interesting evening. And some of your questions, like you had regarding the why do we eat some and we don't eat others, could be answered by our friends from Islam and Judaism. So I also think, and this is my feelings, some of that is cultural and what we have learned. So we often tie our culture into our faiths, and that's happened over centuries. So. Thank you again for being here. Please go to vcic.info and you can find some past interesting things and the fun things that are coming up. As we were talking tonight, I don't know why it came to my brain. Oh, it's because you were doing the technical things, Arash. And if you go back to COVID and we couldn't meet, that's how we got to doing this monthly, is we wanted to keep going and we'd meet monthly on Zoom. He set up music from different faiths so that it's one series and you can watch it. And you actually might really enjoy going back and listening to it's about an hour's worth, right? Of the music of different faiths. And it starts with one faith and it ends with Baha'i. And it is a beautiful thing to watch. So I would encourage you to go backward and look. Thank you, Jamie. There is a Thanksgiving service that the Canal Valley Interfaith Association is holding, and the dates, Sunday, the 23rd, it will be in the evening, and it's at Temple
Dad Elohim.
in Thousand Oaks. At what time, 7? Yes. It's also at vcic.info, but Caneo Valley Interfaith Association. And Steve, are you the president? Is the president of CVIA, and he is a Latter-day Saint friend and brother we have here. So that will be something you might want to participate in. They do a great job every year. And is there pie? People are enhanced by food, so, we don't have food here tonight. Yes. So, any other things that I'm forgetting? Thank you for the surveys. There's some flyers regarding the event at Temple Naramee on Sunday, and you are great to know. Thanks a lot.